Hi, hello everyone. I hope everyone's doing great as always, and I just wanted to do a real quick video on the very beginning of basically existence and start with some of the fundamentals. So, a lot of this I'm still kind of piecing together, but have wrote down a lot basically over the past few years, trying to understand, um, basically the truth of it all. I think that's something that we all basically seek at some time, while we're down here. So, and there is an answer, and I've been trying to my best to put that together. So, one of the very beginning things to realize is, if we basically backtrack, well, there's a question, of course, if there is a God, what came before God, for example? So there's that eternal question of what came first and where did all this come from? So if we really start at the very beginning and break down all existence into its fundamental components, there's physical and non-physical. Those are two basic building blocks of all there is, So everything that exists within eternal space. Remember, nothing is eternal. It's a concept, and it all starts with that idea right there. That one of the main questions is, of course, was this universe created, intelligent design, or did it evolve? So, since this is a physical universe, life does exist in the non-physical half of existence as well, of course. That's what our souls are, non-physical material. So if evolution, which this is, by the way, so if this can occur physically, the possibility exists that it can also occur non-physically. So in other words, when you start with the idea of nothing and everything goes in every direction, so the concept of nothing is just pure black space, nothing, just void of everything. But space itself is eternal, because you go in every direction. And to start with, there's just nothing. That's just the very beginning of everything. So since you can't really, and I'll put this in another video, but so if you go outward in every direction, there's no boundaries, because if you run up against something, there has to be something else on the other side of the boundary, and so the idea of space is eternal. It just goes on in every direction until something occurs. So within space, of course, if it goes in every direction, if space is eternal, then you can't really measure something that has no starting point and ending point. So therefore, that's the space-time continuum. I think that they're referred to in science. That is one of those eternal fundamental truths of existence. So that being said, this, when you take the idea of infinite time, when there's nothing to begin with, if you kind of give that a backdrop against, eternal time, eventually there's a chance that something will occur or nothing. It'll be, nothing forever. So at some point, thankfully, something did occur. Within this nothing, and concepts begin to form, things like density and light and heat, and that sort of thing. And then the physical universe began to unfold, as we know it today. So there's a question too of, once, now that this is here, was there anything before, this manifestation of everything that we know physically? We don't know everything quite physically yet, so there's a lot more out there, from what I understand. But we're getting a greater idea of what exists in outer space. But of course, so if there was nothing and then something began to evolve before a long time ago, and then just kind of reverted back into nothing, did that ever happen? And if there wasn't any consciousness or a way to preserve one's soul or identity or awareness that initial time around, or first or second, how many ever occurred, we'll never really know. But the important thing is now, consciousness has reached a level, in the non-physical realms, the spiritual realms, if you will, to where life can be preserved. and will never be destroyed. So it has reached a certain level, and that kind of brings me to the point of my video. So as far as the whole question, is this evolution or creation? It is pure evolution that occurred here in the physical realms. But just like it can occur here, it can absolutely occur in the non-physical realm. So non-physical evolution occurred way a long time ago before physical evolution did. And things are, remember, in the non-physical realms, there's really no limitation as far as, like here, matter is slower and denser. If I have like a Pepsi can here and I want to move it from this location to this location, I have to pick it up, move it over here. And there are rules defining that and the process and, speed and that sort of stuff. But in the spiritual planes, like in the mental planes where our minds and souls reside, like I could picture a Pepsi can here and look over here and then just immediately picture it over here. And, things occur that quickly. There's really no rules as far as anything, because infinity exists. It's a reality also in the non-physical half of, existence, just like it is here. So that being said, evolution occurred a long, long time ago, and things can occur. I use that example because things are quicker and things can happen faster and more efficiently and effectively and that sort of stuff in the non-physical half of existence, because just with mere intent, things can happen so that quickly. So beings and people and just the idea of infinity itself has been, evolved over there, just like here. It's just that it occurred a long time ago, and without these rules and limitations, things occurred quicker, more immediately. And the idea and concept of infinity was actually understood and mastered, maintained, and most importantly, understood as far as, good versus evil, in other words. Benevolent intelligence and infinite, so anything you can attach to that word, infinite intelligence, infinite wisdom, that sort of thing, realizes the need for self-preservation, and the idea that, well, if it begins with nothing, if we revert to nothing, then, none of us will be here. So there has to be that certain understanding for everybody, for life to thrive over there. And the afterlife, what we call the afterlife, because we come from here first, is a thriving, the spiritual realms is a thriving civilization. It's just infinite, if you could think about it, and where anything is possible. And this predates physical evolution here. So thankfully, this massive pre-existing, civilization, for like this collective over there, understood, began to watch physical evolution, literally observe it. Because another thing I learned, I shared in another video, everything physical has an identical non-physical counterpart, everything existing in the same space. It's just a fundamental truth of existence that occurs. So not everything non-physical has a physical counterpart, though, like our minds, for example. But everything that's physical automatically has an identical non-physical counterpart. So my hat does in the same space, and that's how they can see us, because non-physical eyes cannot see something that's physical. But this looks just like it does through spiritual eyes, for example, and that's how they can see us and communicate with us, and that sort of thing. So just as, and they can't, they're two different realms. So that's why all communication is non-physical, all of it. So just like my mind can't move my car if I wanted to, they are made of the same substance. So of spiritual energy, non-physical, keyword being non-physical. So they can't move my car, just like my mind can't move my car. The rules of physicality simply are what defines, the physical half of all existence. So, but that being said, so communication is possible, and as they began to see physical and realize that's what it was, because they literally couldn't affect what they were watching unfold. So they realized that there was an underlying duality here. So what they were seeing, they could observe, but they couldn't interact with. And watching this, but being able to see it, but not interact with it, they could still preserve it. Because if they could observe these things, remember, they can see everything that's physical, period. They understood that the nature of evolution that is occurring here is physical, could eventually dissipate if not preserved. So it's taken very seriously. It's a very sacred thing, like conscious evolution in the physical realms. Physical evolution. So everything is preserved and carried over, from trees to rocks to dirt to human beings to souls to animals. Everything that's occurring here is being monitored and mapped, so it can be preserved. When, for example, when our physical being dies, they can still observe all of us, non-physically, including our minds and our memories and everything. So it's just like when our physical vessel dies, there's an exact copy of it remaining, and it's just like waking up all over again, but in a dream state. It's like kind of when we have dreams, it's the same experience that we're having. So you're experiencing the five senses, but with your mind, and your mind's five senses, and the way they're stored as memories. So really, it's just like being awoken in that same dream state, and now you're seeing with your five non-physical senses. So that's really cool. That's really important to point out too. So, because otherwise we'd just be, like once our physical body dies, we'd just be this blob of energy floating around, and who knows, like you could probably dream yourself back awake accidentally at a certain point, or began to, view things gradually. But thankfully, there was a process in place to preserve and carry us over and awaken us in the most perfect manner possible when we get over there. So, and what's great is I think it's just fascinating because there's no deities or gods or all powerful, that can manipulate physical matter, anything like that. So quite the opposite. They can't interact with physical matter, just like I was explaining earlier. So, but infinite benevolence, wisdom, the understanding of how sacred existence is, because if we don't preserve it, we could literally start to just go back to literally nothing. The same nothing that we all came from eventually, here in the physical realms and also the non-physical realms. So there's no deities like presiding over anything that have power over the physical realms, anything like that. There's no reincarnation. This is our one-time physical experience we're having here as part of this fabric of physical existence and life. And thankfully, and the same kind of counterpart occurred non-physically. I just think that's so cool. So that's the actual truth from what I understand. And it just makes so sense, when you hear it and you think about it too. That's it. There's literally what preserves us and carries us over. It's the same process for everything. It's fair for everybody, because we just don't know how this sort of thing works, until we get there. So there was a pre-existing civilization of beings, just massive amounts too. I mean, I haven't got exact numbers yet how old like some of the original oldest conscious beings were that evolved in the afterlife, but this entire massive civilization and our friends and relatives and loved ones too, who when they die and cross over, they can take part in this process too if they want to help observe or help preserve. Everybody does want to make sure their loved ones gets over here safe. It's the same process. It's been set up for a long time, and all life is retained, preserved, and awoken from this realm to the next. So I think that's so cool. There's no wandering souls. There's no reincarnation or purgatory. There's nothing like that. There is simply a much older, wiser, massive civilization that evolved in the afterlife, that saw what was unfolding here physically, and helps preserve that from one realm to the next. So I think that's really cool. Non-physical evolution happened first, began to witness what occurred here, realized they can't really interact with it, understood that duality, yet at the same time the sacred nature of existence itself. We all came from nothing, and without some sort of structure and preservation and holding these things sacred, life and all that, if not preserved, it will can possibly begin to dissipate back into nothing as well. So that's the dynamic. That's the original, I guess, story of existence, if you will, and wanted to share that. So I think it was pretty cool. I think that's it for this video. That's kind of the main difference, or not the main difference, the concepts that I wanted to point out. That kind of begins everything, so from this great nothing that's just always been there. It's by nature of nothing and infinite space, and eventually against infinite time, it's possible nothing could have happened, but thankfully something did begin to occur, and life, just kind of evolved from that, and flourishes in the spiritual realms and is waiting to assist us when we die and cross over. So everybody in the same fair, objective, perfect manner as possible. So I think that's a good stopping point here, and just kind of a good, I think, summary of where basically all this comes from and how that works. So thank you for watching. And what's cool is too, I'm going to try to, I've been writing this down, and I'm trying to formulate just the story of existence, and how it all began, and this dynamic and how it works and why, kind of explain the human condition, and also to bring a greater holistic understanding of really what all of this is, and what we are and where we're going, and it's pretty amazing stuff. So any questions, of course, thoughts or comments, love to hear them in the comment section. And of course, I'll be doing more and more videos as we move forward, and I'll work on getting better, like lighting and sound and everything eventually. So just getting used to all this. I know it's pretty basic, but appreciate you watching, and thank you once again. So I really do wish everybody well, and thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next video.